Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of the series of Talking Yontir. So, today we have some slight changes that you will immediately notice, which is the lovely background to the episodes that will be here. This was done by Jules the Warrior on Instagram. You can find her links down in the description. She does a variety of art and does some commissions as well, so go ahead and drop her a follow and go ahead and see if you like any of her work or anything like that. As well, I will have a profile picture soon on the channel, and that will be done by another individual who I will list all of their details in the comment section to this video, and then change that to be in the description for future videos. So, in addition to those things, I am also going to be changing the FAQs to be answering questions on the previous episode, since sometimes people are asking me questions once they have listened to the episode or in post, and it's best for me just to answer them next time I make a video. So yeah, other than that, I will continue to do everything as I have been, since it seems to be successful. So we will get into our topic of today, which is involving the entities of Hestril and Dentril. So to fully understand who these entities are, you first need to understand what they are. Hestril is a Farwatcher, and Dentril is a Far Realms creature. The important distinction between the two is that a Farwatcher dwells closer to the planes, while there are very few actual Far Realms creatures, and while there are few, they are incredibly dangerous and actually the purpose of Farwatchers' tasks. So, a Farwatcher is an entity that exists outside of the material planes and even outside the reach of most of the outer planes, that sort of lines the barrier or the veil between the far realms and the material plane. And their job is to stop creatures like Dentril or far realms creatures from getting into the planar bubbles. This job is mainly because the far realms creatures can cause massive amounts of corruption to a plane, and then that would start spreading from plane to plane very quickly, and would obviously not be a very beneficial thing to happen, so the Farwatchers prevent it from happening. Uh, the existence of Dentril is basically a force of chaos as opposed to the force of law that the Farwatchers represent. And this sort of struggle back and forth represents a sort of balance between the entire sort of workings of the universe. So now that you know what they are, you can understand a lot more of how they interact with the world. So if they are outside the plane, obviously, they have to have some sort of way that they arrive there. And that is actually due to their conflict. Dentril collided with Hestril on their post and sent them spiraling towards the plane of Yontir. As the two of them impacted the plane, they impacted into the material plane and landed on a part of the ocean, and then their fight took them to the city of Gahil. After leveling the city of Gahil and affecting Peluvia to set him on his journey to eventually become the adventurer that he did, the two of them continued to fight for a very long amount of time out at sea, until finally Hestril was weakened and had to flee. Dentril gave chase, and then after they found land again, actually split off from Hestril and started causing chaos and imposing its will upon the rest of Terminous and Yontir. Terminous is the name of the continent of that current time. However, as time would go on, the continents would wind up splitting, and we'll get to that in just a moment. So their fight lasted roughly a year out at sea. As the entities were so large, their fight could not last at a very rapid pace. this only really impacted people along the shore when when their fight would carry them there, which only happened a few times, and the times that it actually hit civilization was really just Gihil and some other fishermen. So the most notable thing there is Gihil and how their fight impacted Pluvia and set him on his trail to become an adventurer. Uh, Eventually, the wounded form of Hestril would be found within the temple and would bestow the boons that it had upon the four before leaving the plane and going back to its place of residence so that it could try to regain some of its strength, which would take a very long time, so it entrusted the four to deal with Dentril as the immediate threat. So, after the four carried out their business and detained, not destroyed, but detained Dentril in the three seals, Hestril continued to sit and watch as it regenerated. After the three seals began to become tampered with over the passage of time, eventually the material seal would break and actually would allow the creature of Dentril to have another episode that it was only out for a couple of hours before it was defeated permanently. Once it was defeated permanently, then the assistance from the shockwave and violent effect of it being fully released from the seal. The process of it being released from the seal took a few days. Then when it was released from the seal, it was out for a couple of hours, just to clarify. And basically, once it was actually defeated, the resounding force from that assisted in the tectonic movements that had already happened and resulted in the continents that we have now, of it no longer being just Mega Terminous, but now being Triondor, Gatriel, Alos, and Terminus. After this happened, the other seals were then dealt with, and thankfully, because those seals were on other planes, they didn't result in too much tectonic disturbance or disturbance to the environment of the material plane, since the Feywild influence of Dentril never actually made it to the material plane. It was actually defeated only on the Feywild. The Shadowfell did leak over, however. So once this figure was or rather this creature was released, the resounding energy was shot out from the plane and eventually did reach Hestril. As all of the energy was released, it attracted Hestril back to the plane so that it would have to deal with the issue that was seemingly not quelled like it thought it was initially. As Hestril came back to the plane, Peluvia and the other four knew that it was going to be cataclysmic for Hestril to go on a search to find a non-existent Dentril now that it was defeated permanently. And also that Hestril would most likely come back and try to claim its power, and they didn't know what that would cause to the plane, so they attempted to defeat it before it arrived at the material plane. With Peluvia delaying it for a very long time, and Agni rounding up very suitable figures and heroes of the realm with the assistance of the artifacts within the Temple of Elements, they did manage to defeat Hestril, but not before it arrived on the plane. As a last little bit of its will, it caused the event known as Calamitous to occur, which in the timeline only actually happened 1 year ago. And Calamitous was a shockwave from the death of Hestril that caused many, many items and many runes and other magical effects to be dispelled throughout the world, as well as this shockwave hitting powerful casters and weaker casters and affecting them violently, maiming some of the moderate casters, resulting in fatal wounds to strong ones and leaving scars and burns on the weaker casters, as your ability to manipulate the weave mostly depended on how strong the effects of Calamitous would be on you. And basically, after this happened, Hestril was now defeated, Dentril was now defeated, and the world was set into a new age for this past year of where the lasting effects of those entities would only reside now within Agni and Pluvia, now that Twillick, for all intents and purposes, is dead, and and then Theorem had chose to die of age and fade out. So that is what Hestril and Dentril are. That is the story of them. There are large gaps between their appearances, their sealing, and things like that, which is why this will be a shorter episode than really most people would probably want. There are probably a lot of questions that I will get about this topic, but you never know. I might be surprised of people having sudden understanding about the topic as well. So, I hope you all learned something today, and I hope you enjoyed this. I do not have any FAQs about the previous section, as everyone seemed to really understand the level of detail I went to. Hopefully that continues, as I would like these episodes to be as clear and concise as possible. So, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you learned something today.